Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm reviewing my top 10 players at Masters Shanghai. This list is a little bit crazy. I do think there were I think I counted up the players that I think could have a reasonable argument to be on the top 10, and it was something around 30 or 40 at this event, which is insane. Like the player quality at this event is unbelievable. So I do want to go through a little bit of my criteria for this list because I think it's very important considering how many players could be included in this. So this list is based on how good I think the player will be at this event, not necessarily how good I think they will be before the event or after the event. Um, it's just how good they are at the event. It's kind of just like a prediction of I wouldn't say the top 10 players in terms of stats, but top 10 players in terms of importance to their team in their like tournament run, I guess. So this will be heavily taking into account how deep I think these teams will go. So you'll see a lot of players on 100 Thieves, Paper Rex, Gen G, teams like that, where I think these teams will go deep at this tournament. So that is why I have a lot of their players on this list. And then I think taking into account IGLing and calling for teams and stuff is a little bit pointless on this list because you don't really know the internal dynamic of the team exactly. So I decided to leave that out as I usually do, just because it just makes things too complicated.
So we'll start here with EU at number 10. And I feel like this might be a hot take for some people because a lot of EU's impact is not directly shown by any stats or highlight plays or anything from him. But he's extremely clutch. If you watch the C9 game, I think that was probably his best game. But also, into playoffs, he had some really clutch moments. Like he won a 1v2 on Bind. I think, oh my God, who was the against? I think it was against G2 in the grand final when they were able to bring it back from 8-4 or something like that. Maybe that's not the right map. Maybe it was the first time they played Bind against G2. But regardless, he's extremely clutch while also having that Leo-esque decision making. Not perfect like Leo was. I'm not saying he's Leo. I have Leo higher on this list. I will say that. But his mid-round decision making is so good. His supportive utility is also very good. I think that's probably the area that sets him apart from Leo, where he's a little bit worse at that. But his mechanics are up there for some of the best initiators in the world. I'd say, just in terms of raw aim, I'd put him just behind Trent for top two. I'm probably forgetting about somebody. You can feel free to yell at me in the comments about that take. I am fully aware that I could be forgetting people, but right now I'm just thinking about EU. And yeah, I think Hunter Thieves is going to go deep in this tournament, and I think he's going to be a big part. I think there's a good chance that he ends up being higher on this list if you do a post-tournament list or something like that. So yeah, he's just an insanely impactful player despite not really putting up too great of stats, even though I think he was top 5 in terms of stats after playoffs. So I don't know, just an insanely good player. Then next up we have something who a lot of people had really high on this list, and I don't think he's a top 2 most impactful player on this team. He is top 3. He is my third, but he plays 3 agents for this team, and that's it. Maybe he'll play Breach sometimes. Maybe he'll play fucking. What else did he even play? He played Yoru a little bit. So yeah, he's played other stuff, but he plays these 3 agents, and he is a super impactful player for this team. I have him in the top 10 of players at this event, so he is still very good. But I think there's just other players both on this team and on other teams that are way more important to how deep some teams will go. Now I do have Paper X going pretty deep as well, considering they're my second ranked team in my power rankings. But I couldn't justify putting something ahead of the other 2. And also, there are so many top tier players at this event where it's okay, well, this guy has to be top 5, this guy has to be top 5, even if their teams aren't going to go that deep. So that's why I kind of pushed some of these players that are going to get pushed up I push them down because later they'll get pushed up a little bit higher into the top 10 because these teams go deep. But I don't want to sh- put players ahead of like Aspas if they don't deserve it, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. Not too much to say. Everybody knows something's really good. His mechanics are really good opper. Just, I think some of the flexibility and I think the other two more impactful players on this team are ahead of him. So, that also pushes him down a little bit as well. Then moving on to number 8, we have another player who is getting pushed up a little bit, but I think his team is going to go deep. We got Bang, who I said in the power rankings video is one of the players that I'm a little bit more concerned about in terms of like choking at a big international event. But also, he's been to multiple of these. Lock-in was kind of from him. Actually, Lock-in was bad from him, I will say. But Champs 22, when they had actually qualified to the event and he was in good form, he was awesome. So I think on a better team, on a team that has real expectations with Boostio, with Cryo, with EU, with Asuna, I think he is going to have a really good chance of being very good at this event. I think at this event, he might have the best mechanics out of any controller player. I'd say Charon ahead of him, and that's it. Maybe. Let me actually look at the list of controllers real quick. I'll I'll tell you if I agree with that. Yeah, he's better than I have him over Valen, over Mazzino, over Berlin definitely. I don't even know who the fuck plays smokes for DRG. I don't want. I think it's Nisao. Yeah, definitely better than Nisao. Better than Boo. Better than Ada. Charon, I'd give you. If you disagree, better than Izu. Better than Boaster. Better than Howdong or Smoggy, and then definitely better than Mind Freak. So yeah, I think he's up there for the most mechanically talented players that play controller at this event. He's playing a lot more Viper, which I think is really good for him. He can just take more lurk timings, do more weird shit, but also his sight anchoring on Omen is unbelievable, um, to the point where I want them to play Ascent more and put him on Omen more, just because it gets him to be able to be that kind of elite sight anchor that he is. So again, just an elite player for 100 Thieves, and definitely deserving of this top 10, in my opinion. Then moving on to number 7, where we have a player who I don't think is going to go exactly very deep, but is also just one of the legends of the game. We got Cned. I mean, he's added more agent flexibility into his arsenal. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but agent flexibility. Um, and yeah, just playing Jet, Raze, can play Neon, playing Chamber, playing Sage. That is a actually good agent pool for a duelist. I would like them to put him on Raze a little bit more often. Maybe take him off the Chamber on Split, let him play the Raze there. Just the best opera in the game right now. I think he's better than Kankang, and his rifling is to an elite point where, like, I mean, Mr. Fallen said in their um what's it called? Their Lotus comp that they are using Cned as a Sova drone. So like, come on now. He's just unbelievable. He'll take just dry fights on Lotus, just swinging into A main, just get one, dash away, and that's the round. Like, he's just, I think he has been the best duelist in EMEA by a considerable amount. Like, Mini Boost had some bad games. Durka started really bad and hasn't been like elite to back that up. Um, but yeah, overall, like throughout the full year, I think I would take Cned as the best duelist in EMEA. Just because opping is better than anybody else. I think the rifling is on par with everybody else. And I think the agent flexibility, in terms of at least against Miniboo, is equal to better. Just because Miniboo can't play Jet and he can't play Raise to a super high level, in my opinion. So overall, very, very high on Cned. I just don't know if his team is going to go deep enough to warrant a higher placement on this list. All right, and now I have the second player on Paper X, Forsaken, who, like, yes, is not putting up as great of stats as he normally does. Devi is putting up better stats, and something is as well. I don't know about Mind Freak, he might be as well. But Forsaken, if he was removed from this team would completely fall apart. I think they could live without something. I think they could live without Devi. I think they could live without Mind Freak. But Forsaken is what this team really stands for. He plays three different roles for this team. He plays like the Harbor. He plays, I mean, as it says on the VLR stats here. You can see my cursor, right? Yeah. He plays Sentinel. He'll play Cypher and Killjoy. He plays Harbor. He plays Astra. He plays KO. Fucking Sky he's played. He's played Sova this split for them. He's played Fade. He plays Duelist. Like, he plays so much different shit for this team. It's just unbelievable. And at the same time, he also is putting up decent stats. And, like, I think he just had a bad split, pretty much. And coming into the big international event is going to really show up just like he did at Madrid. So he's unbelievable. I mean, there's not too much to say since he's been on so many of these lists, probably. Maybe not for me, but yeah, he's just been such a good player for this team, specifically like over the past 2 years, really, since they brought in something. He's just been incredible. And then we'll do Jing back to back. I won't do the thing where I like split the clips and like differently. I don't know how to explain this. Like I record the something part and then I stop recording and then I record the Jing part. But I'm gonna do these back to back since they're both Paper X players. You could argue Jing should be higher on this list. He is by far the most important piece of this Paper X team. Munyet was very, very good for this team, especially towards the end of Madrid. But you could instantly tell the difference between the two the second Jing came into this team. Um, I think it took him a few weeks to warm up. Sorry, I just choked on air, I guess. But yeah, it took him a few weeks to kind of like warm back up, get back used to like playing the game again, I guess. Um, but once he got acclimated into the team, you could tell the comfort levels of every player with Jing's level of aggression and his comfortability on the Raze and even on the Sage is just night and day between any other player in the world. I don't like I think there might be two players that could get this team to work in the entire world. And that is Asuna and Jing, or not Jing, duh Jing and Jogamo. I think those are the only two other players that could maybe have this team work at an extremely high level as well. So again, just an unreal player, bonkers mechanics, great raise movement, just knows how to use the utility better than anybody else in the world. And that is why he's number 5. He could be higher, and I think that would be a very fair argument. But also, even with my criteria, I still think 3 of these next 4 players should be higher than Jing, just because I think they're better players. But again, you're really splitting hairs, especially with these top 5. So after talking about Jing, I decided to move Cryo down from 3 to 4 and move my number 4 player up to 3. So honestly, I don't have too much bad to say about Cryo. I think it was just from what I just said, I thought about it a little bit and I'm like, I should move number 4 up. But Cryo is an unbelievable player. I was calling for them in the offseason to be moving him to Sentinel because that is what teams have done with players like Les in the past. But with Zix coming in, he's made Cryo pretty much this team's DM1, which I'm perfectly fine with. He, I mean, once he's got the more experience on the Brim and the Astra, he has been unbelievable. I don't even remember what the other agent that he played was. Oh, it was Gecko. And I think the Gecko's been fine, but not great. It's like something's Gecko, but a little bit worse. But that being said, nobody cares about any of the other agents when he is as good as he is on Jet. specifically on maps like Ascent and Icebox, he has just been farming teams with the op. And I think that was his main strength coming into the year, the defense side opping. And when you were talking about Cryo, the main concerns were the entrying and everything like that, which on maps like Bind, on maps like Split was really big, and on Ascent as well. But I'm specifically talking about those two, where he is now playing Smokes and Austin is playing the Rays, and now this team can really have that like elite entry presence, and he doesn't have to worry about doing that as much, and he can just focus on, okay, I put my smokes down, now I shoot people, and that's what he's good at. Then you get to the duelist maps for him, where he, as an entry player, I mean, on Icebox, you don't need to do it super hard. Like, yeah, you should be taking the first contact most of the time, but like, it's not a huge deal. And then Ascent, where he's just now he doesn't really have any aggression problems, and I think a lot of that is to do with Boostio and Zix giving him a bit more confidence, and just them winning a bit more as well. So he's extremely good, and I could not be more happy to have him as a 100 Thieves fan. And then at number 3 here, we have Leo, as I said, moving up from number 4. I mean, he's the best initiator player in the world right now. I do think he had kind of a start to the split, but as the season went on, he just started to get even better and better. I thought at the beginning he wasn't winning his fights as much, while also on top of that not making as great of decisions as he used to, in terms of like during 2023 where he had like perfect decision making. He had events, I think, at Lock-In and at what's it called, at Tokyo, where he started like the first 3 or 4 games not having a first death, which was just insane. I think he has a chance to continue doing that, honestly, because the decision making got better, even though it's not fully back. But he's just winning every fight now. Every fight that he has to win, he just does. He clutches up for this team. He's just, I mean, he's just a better version of EU, maybe with a little bit worse like raw aim. Um, so yeah, he's just really good. He's a really good like caller, even though that wasn't factored into this, which is just insane to think about. Like, I mean, Sliggy had him number 1 on his list because he said that as a coach, Leo is the exact player that you would want, which I also agree with. It's just not the criteria that I went for with my list. So yeah, Leo is just unbelievable. Talked about him so many times on these lists. He's just so damn good. Then at number 2, this might be a little bit of a hot take. I have Ospas, the GOAT of the game, the greatest player of all time. I don't know why I just said the same thing twice in a row, but I don't think he's going to be the best player at this event, just because of another player's current form. I think overall, for his entire Valorant career, he is still the best player in the world, but at this event, I don't think he will be, if that makes sense. His opping is up there for the best in the world. I think he's the most consistent opper in the world, like where in terms of like all like his form for every event ever is better than Cned's, better than Kang's, if that makes sense. Um, Jet movement unbelievable, even though I don't think he's actually been playing it as much. That could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure Raze is his most played agent this split, which is kind of crazy to think about for a player like Aspas. Yeah, by 1 game. Okay, so he still has been playing the Jet quite a bit and still been very good. But also, on this Lev team, it feels like Aspas is playing for stats a little bit, as people have been saying. I don't think it's as like obvious as some people are gonna like point out, but yeah, he does do it, which kind of leads to him being a little bit lower here. Like, I think if he didn't do that, maybe you'd have him as number 1. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just more has to do with the player ahead of him rather than him not being as good. He's still incredible, still the best player in the world, still the go to the game. It's just I have a player over him, which you'll have to see who it is at number 1. And yeah, at number 1 we have Texture. No surprises here after you saw Aspas at number 2. I do think
most people might have Osbos number one. I think it's like a 50-50 split between these two. But texture is just incredible. Um, Again, like I said this in the Power Rankings video, I've followed him since 2021 when he was playing in Challengers Korea. Was always kind of a little bit disappointed when they wouldn't make these international events because there was only one slot in Korea. And I always thought texture was insane, but I didn't think he'd be this good. Um, I think he's even leveled up from where he was playing in terms of the first split, or not the first split, the like kickoff into Madrid. So now playing even better than that, like he is easily number one for this. I think there's a good chance that Genji goes deeper in the tournament than Leviathan. I think they'll win the opening game. I've spoiled two of my pick'ems now for the opening round. I think it was the Heretics DRG game and now the Genji Lev game. I've already recorded that video. But yeah, he's just so good. I think the one spot that you can really fault him in is his opping, but that's still to a super high level. I think it's probably behind Aspas, Kankang, and Cned, but still very, very good. And yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say about texture because everybody knows how good he is. I just think some people might be a little bit underrating him comparatively to Aspas, where I think texture throughout the split has honestly played better than Aspas, and I think Genji is a safer pick to go deep in the tournament than Leviathan, which is why I have texture number one. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I don't think I have the full list here, but we'll go back. At number 10, I had EU, 9 something, 8 Bang, 7 Cned, 6 Forsaken, 5 Jing, 4 Cryo, 3 Leo, 2 Aspas, and texture at number 1. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one for my opening round pick'ems. Yeah, peace.